I enjoy seeing movies in the theater. It's very relaxing and cathartic for me. After a long week's worth of work, seeing a movie at the end of it, as rare as I do go, tends to calm me down and wash away my stress. I can see some of the most terrible movies and come away feeling really great. They don't have to be good or even halfway decent. They just need to do exactly what they promise to do. Movies like Michael Bay's Transformers, for example, are just the best. I can go into the mindset of wanting a big dumb action movie, and I get a big dumb action movie. I get exactly what I'm looking for. Secret Life of Pets was a movie that gave me no other feeling that I normally get from walking away from a movie. I was disgusted and horrified at a children's movie. I wanted to be delighted and feel happy, but this movie was horrendous. I was not ready for this happy children's movie to go down such a dark route. If it would have told me that from the beginning, I wouldn't have been so horrified as much as I was. But from the trailers and the reviews and what I saw online of before I saw it in theaters, I only expected a simple, predictable, happy, dumb children's movie that went south in the middle. I didn't realize it would be as dark as it was going into it. I was not in the right mental state for a movie like this. I can see horror movies and still come out of it feeling pretty great, but that's because I was expecting horror. I wanted to see a dumb movie about dumb pets doing dumb things, and I feel like I didn't get any of that coming out of the theater. In order to explain what I mean, I'll need to describe the entirety of the movie. This will be a detailed synopsis of the whole thing. If you don't want spoilers and to know just what I thought about The Secret Life of Pets, I'll just say it's a really terrible movie. Don't watch it. For anyone who hasn't seen the movie and wants to know why I call it a horrendous movie, I'll be giving out the entire plot, beginning, middle, and end, so you don't actually have to see the movie. I actually don't want anybody to see the movie either. The trailer for this movie was far better than the movie ever was. Watch the trailer. You'll get everything that you'd want out of a movie like this. Anyways, now I'll describe the entire movie with my own thoughts added in between. The beginning is exactly what I expected it to be. Happy pets doing happy pet things, so I'll be going over it rather quickly, and the parts that really disturbed me I will be going into more detail, so I'll be quickly going through the beginning parts. The first opens up with Max, a small little brown dog, and owner Katie in their home. Katie leaves, Max is sad, owner returns to grab keys. Max is happy, jumping around as you would expect from a dog. And then Katie leaves again. Max curls up on the ground, sad, whimpering for his owner. Very adorable scene. And then other pets from other apartments come over to visit Max. Pets can get around and leave cages without needing thumbs or keys. Pets can open up doors without help. And after the pets go home and later that day, Katie returns with a big brown dog named Duke. Max is jealous of Duke and tries to get rid of him. Max threatens Duke by creating a mess and threatening to blame the mess on Duke. Stuff high up in the counter where Duke wouldn't be able to reach is thrown to the ground. Max is trying to blame the mess on Duke, even though that only Max would be able to make that kind of mess. But that's alright. I wasn't really expecting a good movie. Expecting a movie to be about pets, which is exactly what it is so far. Max pulls on the TV wires and threatens to pull it off of the wall, and Duke doesn't want that because he doesn't want to be blamed for it. Later, Katie comes home and doesn't mind a mess, undermining Max's threats. So even if Max really did make a really huge mess, I guess Katie was just expecting it since brought a new dog home. So Max's threats are actually kind of meaningless. Duke grovels beneath Max despite the leverage that Max has. Max still has leverage over Duke despite not having any leverage in question. The next day, a dog walker person takes a whole group of dogs to the park. The dog walker is shown to be incompetent and fails to remove the leash from Max. At the park, Max demands Duke to give him a stick. Duke goes behind a pair of bushes in the park and notices a gap in the park boundaries where it was under construction. Duke lures Max close, then jumps him, and they both tumble outside the boundaries of the park. Duke grabs onto the leash and drags Max across town. It's later explained that Duke had an owner and was traumatized when Duke left his home and got caught by a dog catcher. If Duke had gone through something like this in the past, Duke never would have done this to avoid dog catchers at all costs. Anyways, Duke and Max crash into an alleyway where they're jumped by a tremendously large group of cats. One hairless cat removes the collars from the two dogs with a sharp claw. Duke panics and runs away. The cats threatens Max, then Max notices that Duke runs back. Two dog catchers are chasing Duke. The cats, despite their tremendous number, all scramble to leave. The cats, in their huge number, are scared by a couple of dog catchers. Max and Duke are cornered by the dog catchers. Smash cut to Max and Duke captured in a dog catcher van. Max and Duke getting captured and thrown into cages is all done off screen, which is, when it happened, it was really sudden and I just wasn't expecting it. Moving on. In the van, another larger dog is also in a cage, muzzled, and he's hitting the muzzle against the bars of the cage repeatedly. Then it cuts to a scene where a small rabbit pops out of a manhole. The dog catchers stop the van right in the middle of the road to get out to grab the rabbit. A heavily tattooed pig and lizard also come out of the manhole, and the tiny rabbit easily overpowers a grown man. The tiny rabbit can overpower a grown man. The pig and lizard attack the driver of the van, and the pig and lizard hijack the van. The pig and lizard can drive the van. This is a movie about pets doing pet things. They can drive vehicles because animals do this all the time. The entire reason why the bunny, named Snowball, wants to hijack the van is to get the dog friend out, the one with the muzzle. The van crashes. Snowball comes in with a carrot and magically turns it into a generic looking key. The rabbit can magic a key from a carrot that can open up the door of a cage. Okay, that's alright. It's a cartoon movie. It's alright, it's fine. The rabbit can magic real keys that somehow work on these specific locks. The rabbit just looked at the lock and knew exactly what kind of teeth the key needed in order to open it. The rabbit is later explained to be previously owned by a magician, which actually does explain how the rabbit can just magically make carrot keys. So hey, why not? Max and Duke beg Snowball to free them as well. Max and Duke lie and say that they killed their owner in order to get Snowball's trust. Max and Duke said that they killed their owner in a movie about pets. They said they killed their owner in a movie where their target demographic is children and pet owners. They killed their pet owners. Pet owners are the people who are going to be watching this movie. Who thought this was a good idea? Did the people making this movie even know their target demographic? I thought this was going to be a children's movie. Okay then. Moving on. Snowball takes Max and Duke because Max and Duke have no idea where they are and need help getting home. So they lied and said that they have no home, making it impossible for them to convince Snowball to take them home. The writers of this movie forgot the incredibly strong sense of homing in dogs. Both cats and dogs have been known to make their way home even when they don't know where their home is. They have a homing sense. They know how to get home even if they don't know where home is. Max and Duke only need Snowball to open the cage, then they could have jumped out and run away home. Duke is a very large dog. Duke and Max only needed Snowball to open the cage. Then they could have jumped out and ran away home. Duke is a very, very large brown dog. He could have plowed through them. They could have just ran off. Instead, Duke and Max follow the clearly deranged rabbit down a sewer. Now that they're free and out of the cage, there's no reason for them to go down that sewer. This movie has no real plot. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the point of this is. So Snowball and the rest of the gang walk around in sewers before reaching a very large underground room, which seems to be hundreds of other animals down in this sewer room. They question the presence of Duke and Max. Snowball brings up their owner killers. Snowball reveals that this very large group of animals underground in the sewer is an anti-human organization bent on taking back the world from the owners. Snowball keeps mentioning a goose named Ricky. Ricky was known as an animal who could kill a human on sight. They specifically mention that. Oh boy, that Ricky. He knew how to kill a human on sight. This is a group of animals who have been confirmed to regularly kill humans. Why haven't animal control ended this giant group of sewer animals? They are dangerous and need to be put down. They are killing humans, and they openly say so. Snowball asks Max and Duke how they killed their owner. Max and Duke lie, as they do, and they fumble to get the answer out. They don't know how to respond. They don't know anything about killing. They're just pets. They love their owner, but they fumble about and mention a spoon. Snowball questions how you could kill somebody with a spoon. Duke lies and say that it was used to turn on the blender instead. Snowball thinks that they used a spoon to hit a button on the blender to blend a human to death. They used a blender to blend a human to death. Duke and Max lied and said that they blended a human to death. And now we get to the middle portion of the movie where I was just horrified by this. I was not expecting this movie that was advertised as a silly pet movie to grow into something this horrific. I went in as a pet movie, wanting to see what pets do while the owners are not at home. Snowball mentions enthusiastically that they blended someone in a silly tone that makes it seem like some sort of dark joke. At this point, one of the families in the theater had to get up and leave. Those parents did the right thing. They had children with them. In a children's movie where a pet owner was blended to death and the leader of an underground pet organization, Snowball, the leader, is enthusiastic and extremely pleased to hear that pet owners were blended by a blender. This is not something that's family friendly. This is a kids movie. What kind of lesson are you trying to teach children? That your pets are going to kill you with a blender later? Holy shit. After Duke and Max's lie, Snowball accepts it and moves them on to something that he calls the initiation. What this involves is having a massive one-toothed, one-eyed, poisonous viper bite you. If you survive, you're part of the gang. This is stupid on so many levels. Anyways, instead of letting a viper bite him, Max tries to run away, which is a very reasonable thing to do. A poisonous viper is trying to bite and kill you. Of course you're going to try to run away. The viper chases him, and the viper gets tied around a giant metal pipe in a very cartoonish fashion. Max is forced to the end of a ledge, just barely out of reach out of the viper. It got tied up and it only has so much reach now. Turns out that pipe is actually the support beam for the frickin' sewer. The viper pulls on it and the pipe comes out of place, having a giant pile of bricks fall from the ceiling and smash into the viper. The whole giant group of underground animals gasp. Like, oh, look at that joke. The viper gets up and pulls on the pipe again. Another big pile of bricks falls down. They gasp again. Whoa. The viper pulls on a third time. An impossibly large corner of a building drops and violently crushes the massive snake to death. The snake's tail wiggles around and slowly comes to a stop and flops over, just accepting death. This giant viper just dies on screen. The group of animals give a large gasp like it was a punchline to a joke. One of the biggest and strongest members of their organization just died. Possibly one of the most important members of their organization, since they're gonna need that giant viper for the war against humanity. A character and animal in this children's movie just died extremely violently, crushed to death for a dumb joke. The situation only happened because Max and Duke lied about killing their beloved master in a horribly brutal blender method. There is no way to be killed by a blender that wouldn't be slow and horrific. Max and Duke are horrible individuals. Duke desperately wants a home, and Max loves his human to death. They are supposed to be dogs, loyal pets to the end. They are supposed to love their master unconditionally. They should be loyal to the point of accepting death, but instead use their master as a tool to try and save themselves. This movie about pets doing pet things doesn't know anything about loving pets and owning a pet. it pretends to understand. It pretends to know what it's like to have an animal to do these things in apartments. But it doesn't understand the bond between master and pet. Duke and Max have shown to have no loyalty to their master, and this distrust led to the death of another animal, which was just played off as some dark joke. I don't even know what the planning for this movie was. It doesn't have a plot, nor did it need one to begin with. It only needed to be a slice of life with pets doing pet things in an apartment. I would rather see the dogs in the same apartment the entire movie doing dog things and playing around. You can have the other pets from the other apartments come over and play around and do all these cute things as well. But they didn't need this grand plot for this sort of movie. This underground sewer plot is insane, and it really shouldn't be in the movie to begin with. Moving on, Snowball leans over the corpse of the giant viper and cries over the death of one of his followers. This is done in a jokingly manner. This is extremely depressing, but it's being played off as a joke. Snowball says that, "Oh, Viper probably disturbed it. You wouldn't believe the number of people that he bit." But Viper was still an integral part of their group. He was used as an initiation. Wasn't this supposed to be an emotional scene? But they have it played off as like some dumb joke. I don't know what kind of feelings I'd be feeling right now. What does the movie want me to feel? Sad that an animal died? Mad that Max did it? I don't know what I should be feeling. It's so many mixed emotions. I have never experienced a movie that has done this to me to this point. I went in wanting a silly, dumb pet movie, not an experimental movie that actively jokes about horrific deaths in a children's movie. After crying over the death of Viper, Snowball then orders a hit on Max and Duke. Snowball wants Max and Duke dead. Max and Duke run away, getting hit and stumbling in ways that could seriously injure a real animal. Like they trip over themselves, they run into debris, and they bump into things into ways that should have really injured them. But in this movie, getting hit or injured doesn't mean anything. The main characters are apparently invulnerable. At the end of the chase, Max and Duke are ejected from a underground pipe into the city bay, where they both swim to a tourist boat. Snowball and gang are stopped by a storm break, however. Snowball screams that he'll get his revenge. Changing scenes, back at the park, the dog walker walks the dogs home. The dog walker fails to realize that he's missing two dogs. One of them is Duke, who is a tremendously huge brown dog. Impossible to miss. The bloody dog was probably about as big as a guy walking him, and that guy had to walk an entire group of dogs. How was he even able to get them all to the park to begin with? Duke could easily overpower that guy, but he doesn't even miss this giant brown dog. Even if you're incompetent at your job, I really don't understand this. Anyways, moving on. Digit, a small, white, ultra fluffy dog, barks for Max and notices that Max is missing. Digit ends up climbing up a fire escape to the roof. At the top of the building, there's a shady looking cage. There is a voice from within the cage, and for some reason Digit tries to check it out. There is a giant bird with a hood over its head. The bird beckons Digit to get closer. The bird says that it'll help Digit to find her friend. In order to get to this bird, Digit needs to climb over a pile of bones. There is a box full of animal corpses in this movie about pets doing pet things. Digit has to climb over the remains of previous animals. Digit has to climb over bones and corpses in order to reach this bird. This was a movie marketed towards pet owners and small children. They were realistically looking bones of what used to be other animals in this cage. Well, I was horrified. The ever-friendly Digit climbs over the bones and tries to get closer to the giant bird. The giant bird says, "Come closer, food. Friend." The bird makes a joke about calling Digit food. The giant bird wants to kill this super peppy and friendly dog. Digit was a really good character. I really like Digit. I didn't want to see her deal with this bird. I just wanted her to leave the cage. I was actually very uncomfortable at this point in the movie. The bird asks Digit to remove the hood. And of course Digit does. Because Digit wants to make friends with everything. The bird, now with the hood off of its head, is now free to see Digit. The bird takes one look at Digit and lunges at her. My heart stops. The bird flies into the chain on its leg, finally stops this bird from flying at Digit. This bird tried to kill Digit. This bird, after having its hood on its head being taken off, just tried to kill the small dog that just helped it. Digit had just ran away from a killer bird of prey who had the bones of its previous victims in its cage. Digit, a super lovable and likable character, had almost died. This giant bird had tried to kill the super friendly and happy character in this children's movie. This giant bird has a goal to ask Digit to remove the chain on its leg, the only thing preventing it from killing Digit. The giant bird asks Digit to free him from the chains that is preventing him from eating her. I was expecting Digit to die if this falcon has its leg chain removed. The falcon mentions that it'll be Digit's friend, and it'll give Digit the terms that the falcon mentions that it'll be Digit's friend. Come on, take this chain off my leg. I'll be your friend. And Digit gives the terms that the bird must help Digit find Max. Which once the chain is off, the bird won't have any reason to actually follow this. This falcon was introduced as a villain and a natural killer. The way that it was introduced was that it had mounds of corpses of its previous victims in its own cage. The way that it was introduced, I was expecting it to be the big bad and secret leader of that underground pet organization that it's bent on taking back the world from owners and killing humans. I was expecting Digit to die if those binds ever come off. And of course, Digit removes them. Yep, Digit took them off. It's like, oh, okay, you'll be a friend. I'll take off your binds. The giant falcon jumps at Digit, and I panic. How could this dog be so dumb to take off these binds? The massive bird stops with its talons right in front of Digit. Then it pulls back its talons to its body. He says, "No, must not kill friend." What? Then the bird flies off and finds clues about Max. Oh, okay. This murderous bird, whose character and personality that doesn't belong in this movie, instantly believes Digit, and due to her mentioning to be a friend, they introduced this character as a murderer and killer in a dark and shady way. Then it turns out that he's a gag character. He's just a gag. The falcon is shown to be dark and foreboding, and he's never shown that way again. He's just shown as a character as like, oh, mustn't eat friends. Mustn't. I have such conflicting emotions about this scene. Why does it need to exist? The theater was dead and silent at this part. The movie was cracking jokes about, oh, mustn't eat friend. No one was laughing. They practically had to play a laugh track in the movie. The beats and music cues made it sound like that this was supposed to be a joke, but this was too dark and depressing. I went into this movie wanting a dumb children's movie about dumb pets doing dumb things, but instead got a movie that constantly jokes about death and killing. They showed animal corpses and bones in a movie for children. I was horrified. I feel bad for the children still in the theater. When the falcon comes back for its search for Max, it brings back a cat. How the hell did it know to bring back this cat? And the audience instantly recognizes it as the cat from the alleyway that took off Max and Duke's collar. How would this bird know to look for this cat? The audience recognizes the cat, but the characters in the movie wouldn't. The cat conveniently coughs up Max's collar. What the hell is it doing down his throat, I wouldn't know. And Digit recognizes the collar and jumps on the cat. Digit screams at the cat to give up Max's location. This scene was actually one of the jokes shown in the trailer. In the trailer, it was one of the funniest jokes. In the theater, no one laughed or chuckled. All the comedy in this movie was drowned out over the overabundance of dark humor and death. This was the first and last time the Falcon was ever any useful in the entire movie. The Falcon is a worthless character that should not have existed. They should have just shown Digit bump into some alley cat on the street while looking for Max, and that would have accomplished the same thing. From the cat, Digit learns that the underground abandoned pet organization has Max. Digit summons her group of friends and they resolve to find Max, but they have no idea where Max is. So they visit an old dog named Gramps. What was the point of the Falcon? They made another death joke with the Falcon when he tries to pick up and eat Digit's hamster friend. I was expecting the Falcon to actually do it. I was really expecting him to just shove that hamster down his throat. But the Falcon didn't actually go through with it. Digit says, no, the hamster's a friend, don't eat friends. And then the Falcon obeys Digit? I really don't get it. The Falcon is always hanging around them, but does nothing. It doesn't add anything to the movie. Anyways, moving on. When the group visits Gramps, Gramps leads them to the sewers by going through a construction site. After all these horrific and unfunny jokes, they go back to these silly children's cartoon antics. Why couldn't the entire movie just be something silly like this, going through this construction scene? Going through the construction site, all the animals narrowly escape death in cartoonishly fashions by avoiding moving construction materials. Like in the classic Looney Tunes cartoons, where you have characters walking across girders being carried by cranes, and there's large concrete cylinders that they walk through. Nothing new that we've never seen before. I would rather the entire movie be this. Anyways, after the sequence, the group ends up at the underground animal organization where Snowball is planning Max's death for killing Viper. Digit recognizes Max's name, and the entire organization is alerted to the group's presence. They flee, leaving behind their hamster friend. Anyways, moving on, let's just get back to Max and Duke. After riding the tourist boat to the other side of the bay, Max and Duke get hungry and decide to visit a sausage factory. This leads into one of the most mind-boggling scene decisions I've ever seen. Max and Duke easily make their way into the factory, then they go into a large open area filled with a huge amount of sausages. Then they proceed to go into an LSD-fueled acid trip. Duke and Max interacting with personified, living, singing sausages. These sausages are singing and dancing. They're shown to be very adorable and very alive in the sequence. These cute characters then get violently eaten by the two main characters. There are scenes where cute round characters get their heads bitten off in a children's movie. A small child wouldn't even know what LSD is. They might not even know what a dream sequence is. And this scene comes out of freaking nowhere. I don't understand why the entire sequence is even necessary. Just have the dogs eating sausages and have them saying afterwards, oh man, those are really good sausages. Why did they need an acid trip to show that they ate sausages? What was the point of this? I don't understand. For that matter, they were already shown to be invincible cartoon characters. There's no reason to show them eating to begin with. But oh well, at the end of the dream sequence, at the end of the cartoon sausage slaughter, Max asks Duke about his history. Duke mentions that he used to have an owner and was separated because he was caught by dog catchers and was brought to the pound. Duke was shown to have mental trauma from being captured by the dog catchers and appreciates having an actual home. If this was the case, why did he break out of the park to begin with, which started this entire issue? They never would have gone down into the sewers. They never would have been caught by dog catchers. They never would have had to deal with all this if Duke remembered that. In that park scene, Duke had tackled Max, breaking out of the park, grabbed the collar that the dog walker failed to remove, and was dragging Max all over the city, all over the sidewalks, into an alleyway. Why would Duke do that? Anyways, moving on, it is then shown that the factory workers, because there was factory workers in there, they only showed up now. They called the dog catchers, and Duke and Max escape very easily. Outside the factory, Max convinces Duke to visit his old master. Duke and Max conveniently find Duke's old home, very easily in fact. I assume this is due to a dog's incredibly strong sense of homing, something that these two could have used to avoid the entire situation that they're in to begin with. But whatever, I guess. Moving on. Duke and Max learn from a cat that's living there that Duke's owner is dead, and a new family lives in that home now. Duke, not wanting to accept that, panics and starts barking at the new family living there right when they drive into their driveway. Max convinces Duke to leave. The father figure of the new family is shown to be dialing a number on his phone, and then two dog catchers instantly show up. Duke is caught, but Max gets away. This is because it takes two dog catchers to catch Duke, because Duke is a really huge dog. In an earlier scene, earlier in the movie, those two got instantly caught off screen by the dog catchers and thrown into cages. They've shown that the dog catchers actually can't get the both of them if there's only two of them, because it takes two of them to get just Duke. Anyways, Max tries to save Duke, but ends up bumping into Snowball and Tattoo. Tattoo is the name of the pig. This is really weird, strange, because Tattoo is dressed up as a lady pushing a carriage, and Snowball is dressed up as the baby in the carriage. This was incredibly unexpected, and was a very strange thing in this movie. They were dressed this way to be incognito, to trying to find Max and Duke, so they were dressed up as humans? Anyway, Snowball yells at Duke and Max, having found their targets that they want dead. Then they attract attention to the dog catchers. Snowball's friends are captured by the dog catchers. So you got Duke, the pig, and the lizard in the van. And the dog catchers drive off. Snowball, a character who swore vengeance on Max, decides to team up with Max to get his pig and lizard friends back. Snowball wanted Max dead, but decides to throw vengeance away. Snowball doesn't have a clear or concise character. I don't understand him. This, I actually can get, is that Snowball wants his friends back, and the only way to get his friends back is by teaming up with Max. Okay. Alright. I'll take it. I'll take it. It makes some amount of sense. It's good enough. Scene cuts to Max and Snowball driving a bus to catch up with the dog catcher van. Snowball drives on a bridge and smashes into cars in his way. Cars are smashed and crushed. They never cut to see what happens to the humans or the reactions. But there's not enough space on the bridge. You can't drive a bus through these lanes like this. It's unknown if anybody was killed or injured in the Small Rabbit's rampage. The bus catches up with the van and proceeds to smash into it, shoving the van off the bridge. The humans jump out and the van drives off the edge and is caught by some construction scaffolding. Snowball jumps in and frees his pig and lizard friends before the van drops 50 feet, barely being held by the scaffolding. Duke is still in the van. All of a sudden, Digit and friends somehow show up, and for some reason, the entire underground anti-human organization shows up as well. The animals are bent on capturing Max for the death of Viper. And for some reason, Digit can solo like 50 different animals. What is the point of having anybody else there if Digit is like the strongest animal in the city? Digit is a tiny, white, fluffy, domesticated dog, and yet knows enough kung fu to beat the hell out of 50 different animals. Why is the falcon still here? For that matter, this made me feel stupid for feeling fear for Digit when she walked into the falcon cage earlier in the movie. Apparently, Digit is the one-punch man of this world. This is no longer a movie about dumb pets doing dumb pet things. This is a movie where animals drive vehicles and their hierarchy is dependent on their power levels. A small, scrawny character can be stronger than buff, giant characters. This movie is using anime logic. What is it doing in this children's movie? This may also explain how Snowball became a leader of an entire organization. Anyways, Digit is capable of beating the hell out of all the opposing animals in the way, and clears the way for Max to jump in to save Duke. In the van, Duke says to go grab the keys. Max jumps down to the driver's seat and accidentally turns on the windshield wipers. That causes the van to crash into the bay. Max then struggles to get to Duke's cage to use the key to get him out. They're underwater currently. The entire van is submerged. Max fumbles around and loses the key. The metal keys with a material density heavier than water floats to the surface of the bay. Max and Duke stare at each other. Max has lost his chance to save Duke. Both are completely submerged. Duke is rapidly running out of air. The keys have floated to the surface of the water. Both are completely submerged underwater. Duke is rapidly losing air. The heavy keys have floated to the surface of the water. Then all of a sudden Snowball appears and suddenly hands Max the keys. Max is then able to free Duke and they are able to make it to the surface. At the surface, they swim at the end of the bay where then Snowball apparently appears all of a sudden and hands Max the keys. Max is able to free Duke and make it to the surface. At the surface, they swim to the end of the bay where then Snowball all of a sudden appears, hands Max the keys. Max is then able to free Duke and they all make it to the surface. Snowball then appears to give Max the keys. Snowball, the one who ordered a hit on Max and Duke, appears to save Duke. Snowball, the crazed bunny with zero reasoning, decides to randomly help Max save Duke. Snowball swam to Max, risking his life. Snowball decides to help Max save Duke. Snowball, who wanted Max and Duke dead, decides to save Duke. Snowball wanted to save the characters he wanted to kill. Snowball wanted to kill Duke and Max by helping Max save Duke. And then they make it to the surface where they swim to the other side of the bay. Snowball only helped Max because Snowball wanted to get his pig and lizard friend safe. Snowball's friends were safe. They made it out of the van. Why would Snowball jump into the bay, risking his life to save the characters that he wants dead? Well, anyways, after Snowball helps Duke, all the pets go home, Digit sees Max return, and they all live happily ever after. Yep. The pig drives a taxi home, drives everybody home. The pig knows where everybody lives. The pig can drive a car by himself, apparently. Because animals can do that in this city. They all live happily ever after. They all make up. Even though Digit beat the hell out of their entire organization. Anyways, Max and Duke made it home before their master got home. The entire adventure only took a few hours. This is the secret day in the life of a pet. This is what the movie is trying to say what pets do when their owners are away. This is what the secret life of pets is. They disappear to an organization that actively kills humans, kill one of the organization members, go to another city entirely, drive a bus, smashing and potentially killing several humans, then go swimming back to the original city, catching a cab driven by animals to make it in home for time for dinner. That's what this movie is saying. There are murderous animals in this movie aimed at pet owners and small children. A goose named Ricky alone has an unknown number of kills due to Snowball's comment of how Ricky could kill a human on sight. There is a scene in this movie where one of the animals is crushed to death and its tail thrashes about and flops over lifelessly. There's a scene in this movie where a small cute dog has to walk over the corpses and bones of what previously used to be animals. There's a scene in this movie that tried to replicate an acid trip and show the characters tripping balls. And then at the end of the movie they had the goal to show Snowball getting picked up and taken home by a strange girl. Snowball, the bloodthirsty human hater, gets a scene at the end of the movie where he is touched by a strange girl he doesn't know and is shown to be instantly converted from a wild animal to a pet. Snowball was the leader of an underground abandoned pet organization who had an entire purpose of taking back the city and perhaps the world from humans, and Snowball at one point actively recruited animals who previously killed their owners. The entire reason why Snowball agreed to take in Max and Duke in an earlier scene in the movie was because those two managed to convince Snowball that they were human killers. Snowball's dead best friend Ricky was his very best friend, the only animal to get a memorial in the underground organization, and was only his very best friend because he regularly killed humans. Snowball enjoyed killing an idea of humans dying. Snowball is a crazed, psychotic, unpredictable rabbit. In Snowball's introduction scene, he was shown acting as an innocent little bunny. Snowball was introduced as a very good actor. When Snowball was confronted by the dog catchers, Snowball by himself was able to overpower a grown human man. Snowball was the leader of an underground anti-human organization. He ruled over countless other abandoned animals. There was a massive and giant, very powerful viper who obeyed Snowball's every command. Snowball was strong enough and willful enough to control the entire organization by himself. In the scene where Digit fought off the animal organization on the bridge, they showed that real-life logic and the size of the animal doesn't matter. A tiny creature can beat up any other creature as long as they have the power level. Snowball is an actor, and Snowball is incredibly strong despite his size. Snowball was picked up and adopted by a small human girl. At the end of the movie, the unstable and unpredictable Snowball is going to kill this entire family. This tiny bunny is going to kill an entire family, and even if he won't, his underlings will. Every animal in the underground organization respects and honors Snowball to the point where they would have done anything for him to get him back if he ever got captured or if he disappeared. These animals would kill to get what they want. This children's movie is horrific and full of death. This movie did not have a concise nor stable plot. This movie should have never had this underground abandoned pet organization to begin with. This movie should have been a dumb movie about dumb pets doing dumb pet things. That is how it was marketed. That's what the trailer showed, and that's what this movie should have been. It failed in everything it tried to do. I don't think this movie should have been made. This movie was horrifying, and I walked out feeling worse than I did when I walked in. This is very rare for me. I usually have very low standards when it comes to watching movies, but this movie just upsetted me to the point where I just had to do this video. So many built up emotions. What was this movie? What?